All right, what's going on, everybody? It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show, and we have a big 9-gamer to discuss. Won't be quite the sprint like it was on Monday, but go through things relatively quickly and let you be on your way. Hopefully, you did well last night. If not, there's a reason it's called Daily Fantasy Sports. Another opportunity tonight. I've got lineup study up here. I've got the lineup builder up here as well. Seems like some people did pretty well in the Slack. Saw a couple screenshots this morning. If you guys ever want to share those, that's awesome. Feel free to do that in Slack. And Josh already trolling me. Yeah, my boy Mike was calling me out in chat yesterday. So Mike, if you're here, apologies. You don't get to hang out with Cliffy and Josh today. Those guys will be back tomorrow. Slate kind of flipped today. We've had these big Monday and Wednesday slates. I should say slates have flipped this week. It feels like a bunch of weeks during this season. So lighter Tuesday, Thursday this week. But this was supposed to be the last week of the season. So we do have a bunch of games scheduled for next week. I actually haven't heard. I was looking yesterday. I don't know. Maybe you guys know. What's going to happen with these Vancouver-Calgary games that are scheduled for apparently the season could end 2 weeks from today with just like a bunch of days with one game. Seems like they're just going to end up not playing those. But I don't know what's going to happen with the money situation there, because all the teams that are going to be playing, it's not really going to matter. I don't even know if it's going to matter for seeding. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the makeup games, but I guess I'll just load up projections every day until there's no games. And then the real fun starts with the playoffs. I think the contests are going to be pretty good across the board, at least to start. But yeah, okay. So there's Calgary, Vancouver sponsors and TV broadcast commitments to worry about. Yeah. I just can't imagine them playing like for 10 days after the season ends when neither of them are going to be playing anymore. Once those games, like it's just basically a bunch of exhibition games. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm certainly not going to figure it out for them. I'd be happy to play the showdowns, but I think I'd rather have them start the playoffs early or on time. I guess it would be on time. So we'll see. We'll see. We don't have to worry about that today. We've got 9 games, as I said. If you guys ever want to, I mentioned sharing screenshots in Slack, but we've also got the Awesemo Hall of Fame account, which I'm going to pull up. If you guys haven't seen this Hall of Fame Twitter account, it's basically just where we showcase big wins or small wins, whatever is a big win to anyone. It's all relative here. So if you turn 50 cents into $500, we had a nice win last night here. The NBA rebound, that might be a $12, but anyways, really good ROI there. Bunch of winning screenshots from yesterday. So if you ever want to get patted on the back in a non-condescending way, feel free to head over to Awesemo Hall of Fame, because it is really important that we showcase that you guys are not only having fun, but winning some money along the way. Tools have obviously helped me make a little bit of money as well this season. It's been a good NHL year. So I even have a couple screenshots that I shared with the Hall of Fame Twitter account. So everybody's doing it. You might as well join in on the fun when you win something. Lineup study from last night. I've got it was an $11 last night, 96 max entries. You guys can kind of see this. Maybe I'll zoom in when I look at the lineups. Drew 0430 took it down on DK, cleared everybody by 4 points. Only took him one lineup. You don't even need 150 or 96 max like some of us had in here. You can win with just one, as Drew did yesterday. Guy in second, or girl, 3 lineups, and only cashed one of them, but got second place for nice $2,500 there. Let's look at the lineup, because I actually haven't looked at this just yet. Maybe I'll zoom in now so you guys can see this. Okay. Crosby, one-off. I was not heavy on Pitt 1. Certainly wasn't heavy on Crosby one-offs. And then you've got the unconventional, very unconventional, actually, Carolina stack, 4 forwards, 2 from line 2, 2 from line 1, and left out Sebastian Aho. Cody Ceci, I guess you can call that a two-man Ceci, and Sidney Crosby. Pulak scored a goal. Mike Smith got you a win in what was a pretty low scoring. Well, I think it was ended up being 4-1. And then Mike Riley in the util spot. So this might have been, at least we know Whistle Go Woo, his burner account is Drew 0430, defenseman in the early game. I guess there were a lot of early games, so we'll give him a pass on that. Defenseman in the util spot. 3D, I guess that's just the way of the future. Everybody's banking these days with 3D. Lonely? I'm not lonely here. I sit in this office all day. This is actually probably the least lonely I feel throughout the day. So no, I'm not lonely here. I've got all my friends in Slack. You serious? We got 40 plus people watching already, and we haven't even gone through a game. I would never get to that lineup in a million years, Alex says. Yeah, I mean, long term, I don't know if that's going to be a lineup that you want to play, but it was a shorter slate. Maybe 3D was viable. I tend to stay away from that. Even on small slates, I think it can get overused. I don't do it, but that's not to say that it's not right. I mean, we've seen Whistles Go Woo and a bunch of people bink with that sort of line of construction. So it's all about balancing projection ownership and getting a little bit lucky. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really that is super pressing that we need to look at from last night. We'll look at the second place lineup. This might be a lineup that Alex would have gotten to. It's just a 3-3 stack: Crosby, Rust, Gensel, Trocheck, Niederreiter, Teravainen, but not your correlated defenseman. So took a shot with Hauser here and paid off in a big way. Second night in a row, $6,500 goalie. You got 30 points. That's usually going to put you ahead of some people, especially when the team on the other side was popular. Not to say that you couldn't have won with Islanders 2. I think I had a pretty good lineup in one of the higher stakes tournaments, and I think it was Isles 2. So both sides kind of got there, but $6,500 goalie for 30 points, that is a nice little boost. It was a tough combo to fit in. As you see, you had to pretty much double punt your defenseman. Jeremy Lauzon and Severson were the defensemen here. So 2 cheap guys, a cheap goalie, uncorrelated. Nice looking lineup there for a short slate. 3D is okay if there are bargains at D. Yeah. Elway's Army, right? He had a top 3 with an Islanders 2 stack. Okay. Can you guys not read this? Yeah, I guess. If you got to put the quality up as high as possible. I don't know. That might help. But yeah, if you can't read this, not your fault. It's probably something I'm doing incorrectly, which I will do on these streams, especially when I'm by myself trying to produce and talk through 9 games. Okay. Jock Market, presenting sponsor of the Awesemo NHL DFS Strategy Show. If you haven't checked out Jock Market just yet, no better time than now. They have a promo going on, a deposit bonus promo, where if you use promo code Awesemo NHL 20, you get a $20 bonus on your first deposit. About as good of a deal as you're going to find anywhere in DFS, anywhere in fantasy sports on the initial sign up. So go check them out. You can buy and sell players in real time, get the real guaranteed payouts at the end of the night, like you would on your other DFS sites. But there's a little bit of a twist because you're doing some of the analysis during the games. So if you're looking to play another site and get more action done, I think Jock Market is pretty soft right now. There's definitely some money to be won, especially when these newer sites pop up, and Jock Market is a good one. You're going to want to go over there and try to figure out the gameplay as quick as possible. And I think it's pretty soft right now. So go support Jock Market. It's free $20 when you sign up. I mean, there's really no reason to not take advantage. But we love having Jock Market as a sponsor here on the NHL DFS Strategy Show. Cliffy raves about him. I'm going to rave about him whenever I'm on. And that's how it should be. Adin Hill going to start tonight. I just got the alert. All right, that doesn't matter for right now, but good mental note to talk away for later. Capitals and the Rangers, first of a few 7 p.m. Eastern starts, 2.9 implied total for the Caps, 2.9 for the Rangers. I think you guys should be able to read this screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on pod, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really hinder your experience too much. Anyways, I'm going to pull the lineup builder up with all the premium tools on it as well. You guys can get that if you join. You get ownership projections, the projected individual points next to the player name, as well as the projected stack points for forwards, which I really like to look at, compare stacks across each game and across the rest of the slate. Ownership, top stacks, all that stuff is updated, and it was actually just run before the show. So it should be about as accurate as we can possibly get. Right now, there's going to be some more news rolling in throughout the day. Back to the Capitals and Rangers. Should be an interesting one. 2.9 for the Caps, if I didn't mention that. 2.8 for the Rangers. It's going to be Vanacek and Georgiev. Now, a couple things here. There's question marks on Chris Kreider. Ovi's out. Panarin out. And Tom Wilson's in. So this is one where it's really hard to project what's actually going to happen, because are the teams just going to fight each other all game? If you guys didn't see the hit or the thrashing that Tom Wilson put on first Pavel Buchnevich and then Artemi Panarin, who is now out for the rest of the games. Yeah, it was a super dirty play. I mean, I don't know how anybody can argue that. Now, whether you like dirty play, that's up to you, I guess, if you're old school in that way. I can't imagine the NHL was thrilled with one of their star players in one of their biggest markets, getting thrown down to the ice with no helmet on. That being said, Tom Wilson was not suspended, so that's not really, he's here for DFS if you want to play him. Now, I actually don't think you can really, I wouldn't be surprised about anything that happens in this game. If it's 7-6 because there's 45 penalty minutes, would that be that surprising? No. I think it's going to be a competitive game. Definitely reasons for I don't think you can play Wilson with any sort of confidence. If you want to play him, sure, but this is one where we're seeing 10% ownership on Caps 1, Backstrom, Mantha, and Wilson. I don't want any part of that at 10% if that's going to be a thing, because unless you're just going Backstrom, Mantha, those guys aren't going to spend a lot of time in the box, probably. But you just never really know. So this one's kind of a big question mark for me. I don't have any lines written down that I really love playing. New Avs lines. Okay. Their new rookie guy, Newhook. Sorry, I'm getting distracted, getting alerts to my phone. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a little bit. It's just really hard for me to feel confident about playing anything in this game. So I think I would prefer the Rangers side just because we're seeing a little less ownership. I don't really know what the lines are going to be. I don't know if these are correct on the screen. I would think Zibanejad with Buchnevich is pretty safe. Now, what happens after that, I don't really know. You lose Panarin, that could certainly shake some things up. But yeah, if you want to take some stabs at the Rangers top line, whatever that ends up being, we'll probably get more clarity on that this later this afternoon, or an hour and a half before the game, whenever they do the coaches' press conferences. And that's about it for the forwards here. You just can't really feel good about too much here. At least I don't think. Maybe I have a bad read on this one. Fox, 6,800, a guy I don't mind playing, but he's just expensive, and no Panarin that's going to downgrade their power play. That's going to downgrade them at 5-on-5. So if I get to some of him with Rangers 1, that's okay with me. Zach Jones is 2,500 on DraftKings. I think he's playing up in the teens for minutes. Let's see where he was at last game. At 17 and 18 in the last two games, over 17 and 18 minutes last two games. I think that's a perfectly fine punt. Apparently a pretty talented player, this Zach Jones. Let's go to the next game. Preds and Blue Jackets, 2.9 implied total for the Preds, 2.3 for the Jackets. UC Saros and Elvis Merzlikins are your goalies. People talking about Saros in chat and cash people that don't usually play expensive goalies. I'm interested in what people are seeing in Saros tonight. But I guess Blue Jackets have been putting up a lot of shot attempts, especially last game. So it's the same matchup as 2 nights ago. 2.9 implied total for the Preds, 2.3 for the Jackets, and I like the Jackets again here. It feels really point chasey, the Nhl Backstrom hat trick, but like that line wasn't a fluke that they had a bunch of scoring chances. They were really good at 5-on-5, as was the Domi Bjorkstrand and Cam Atkinson trio. So we're showing really low ownership on the Roslovic line. I feel good about going back there, at the very least as a filler stack. They're free. You get a guy coming off a hat trick at 2,600. That's not going to be owned. Now, whether or not, I guess we'll see how many box score watchers there are tonight. If Backstrom's 7%, then we know there's a bunch of them out there. If he's 2-3%, which I think is probably closer to where he comes in, then maybe he's maybe the field's a little bit sharper than we're giving it credit for, or at least I'm giving it credit for. But I do like both of the top two lines, just good price points, and they've been active at 5-on-5. And this Granlund Yarncroc Cunnin line is just continues to put up really bad defensive numbers. So Blue Jackets, I think, especially that Roslovic line, does get a pretty good matchup. Seeing some of the Granlund line, seeing some of the Haula line, and probably avoiding top competition for the most part. Domi Bjorkstrand and Atkinson got the best of the Johansson line in the last game in terms of the Corsi numbers. Preds did end up winning the game, though, so they really got the last laugh. Preds can clinch tonight a playoff spot. So if you want to go to them, I think that's okay. I'm not really a believer in the Granlund Yarncroc Cunnin line. I think I'd rather go to Nashville 1. Yossi and Ellis priced up, but Columbus gives up a ton of goals. So there's certainly reasons to play the Preds, and the ownership is pretty reasonable. On the blue line for the Jackets, both Delzato and Jones are, I think, quality plays. Jones priced up a little bit compared to last slate. I think he was under 6K or around 6K, up to 6,400. Delzato still at 2,900, and they're going to skate a bunch with both of the top two lines. So reasonable add-ons for both. Some Tom Wilson takes in chat. Yeah, I think I agree with all of you. It's insane that they didn't suspend this guy. Maybe he'll get suspended tonight when he tries to take someone's head off again. Who knows? I think we're good on this one. It's going to be another Blue Jacket slate for me on a massive slate. A little bit smaller than 2 nights ago, but 2.3 implied total. I understand if people don't want to get to the Blue Jackets. More often than not, they're not going to score 4 goals. The median total of 2.3 suggests that this is a bad team, and they are, but I think they have a couple pieces to like if they're going to play this style of hockey. Let's go to the Stars and the Lightning. 2.4 implied total for the Stars, 3 for the Lightning. It's going to be Oettinger and Vasilevsky. This is one I have no clue. Another one I have no clue what to do with, but not because we don't have certainty on the line combos, because we do, and I think we pretty much know who's going to match who based on what they did. I think it was early last week they played. They went Point Palat and Barry Boulet against. Is it Barry Boulet or Barry Boulette? Feels like the T has to be silent. I guess I can't remember what Josh and Cliffy say, but we'll go with Boulet for now. Hintz, Robertson, and Pavelski. That's who the point line saw in the last game. And then, it's a little bit different because Sagan's back in the lineup. Kiviranta is back in the lineup. Whether they consider that the top line or the Hintz, Robertson, Pavelski line, I don't know for sure. But what you do know is it's going to be top 6 against top 6. And that's not really a fun matchup anywhere. It's Point Palat Barboulet has been very good at 5-on-5. If they go up against Hintz, Robertson, Pavelski, that's a really tough matchup for both sides. And Yanni Gourde, Goudreau, and Coleman the whole season has been giving up very little defensively. So while there is a 3 total here, not a good 5-on-5 matchup for really anything that I'm seeing. I mean, even if you wanted to dip down to Tampa 3, I mean, congrats. You get to go up against Faxa, Cogliano, and Como. Couldn't really be worse of a matchup. So just strong lines all around. It's not a game that I'm attacking. So I don't really have much written down for this game other than just tough matchups. If you want to go to a Hedman one-off, sure. If you want to go to Savard or Sergachev, that's fine. I think more often than not, this is a pretty tight checking game, and just neither team very giving. So I can't. It seems crazy that the Stars are out of the playoffs. They feel like one of the top 10 best teams in the NHL, and they're not even going to make the playoffs. So kind of had a rough go with the injury bug. Didn't have Sagan the whole season. Miro and Klingberg have been banged up a bunch of times throughout the season. So too bad for them, but looks like they're going to be left out of the old Stanley Cup playoffs this season. Tampa is not, on the other hand. Tampa is going to get back Kucherov and Stamkos very soon. They were practicing on the power play earlier this morning. So I'm sure fans around the league will have some thoughts about Tampa getting those guys back. But yeah, not a game that I'm in love with, really anything. I can't find, certainly not stacks that I'm excited to play in this game. So let's go to the next one. Montreal, Ottawa, 3.1 implied total for the Canadiens, 2.5 for the Sens. We have Jake Allen and Philip Gustafsson. And the Sens kind of blew up their lines in the last game. I'm seeing on your screen White, Formanton, and Nick Paul. I'd probably consider the Stützle, Pinto, Connor Brown trio as line 2. So I think just the order is mixed up here. Either way, it's ugly. Like I would like to see White with Stützle and Dadonov again. Looks like they went away from that. So that's a little bit disappointing. It makes me more interested in the Montreal side. Now, I don't know how exactly Ottawa wants to match up here. You usually get Norris, Kachuk, Batherson against opposing top competition. If it were me and I was the Sens, I would match up against Suzuki, Toffoli, and Armia. That's been the strongest line for them. But Deneau, Anderson, and Cofield is also going to be, I think, pretty strong. And, Montreal's just a pretty good 5-on-5 team all the way around. So maybe they match up against Deneau, maybe they match up against Suzuki. Maybe it's a little bit of both. I think it's probably going to be a little bit of both, maybe 60-40, 65-35, one way or the other. But, I think it's going to put both lines in play for me, for Montreal. So I definitely want to get to a lot of Suzuki, Toffoli, and Armia. Just a line that I believe in a ton. The numbers have not let me down. They started off really hot, and they haven't really been any worse. So, not great defensively, but who cares? It's Ottawa. I'm not really worried about one line running them over. So I think they're priced in range. Armia, the days of $2,500 Armia, I think are over if he continues to play on this line. He's up closer to 4K, but still a good value for me. And just couldn't be really a better situation. If they're going to be fully correlated on the power play, even better. It looks like you got one stacked unit with Peachy running the point. So, yeah, there's a lot to like for Montreal 2. Montreal 1, Deneau, Anderson, and Caulfield. They're okay. They're definitely a secondary play for me, whereas I think Montreal 2 is their primary play for me. I'm in on them tonight, as I have been the last couple weeks, and they haven't let me down too much. Yeah, Montreal 2, excellent for DFS. Liquid Demon says, I agree. Do you always correlate your goalies with the stack? Is it bad not to do so? It's not bad not to do so. Because sometimes one thing I think that's probably a leak in my game is that, so I correlate my goalies a lot. But I think you sometimes miss out on these cheap goalies that are projected to see a lot of shots with tournament winning upside, like 35, 40, 45 save upside. So when you correlate your goalies, usually those goalies are from teams that have really low implied totals and are usually bad teams like Buffalo, like Ottawa, Vancouver. And so you don't really want to stack with those teams. So if you force in correlated goalie, you're going to miss out on some of those opportunities, like Hauser last night. So I think it's fine to do so as a general rule, but you can always play around with that if you are making that rule in Fantasy Cruncher. So yeah, I think it's fine to do so. I think it's fine not to do so. Norris, Kachuk, Batherson, that's the only line I'm looking at on Ottawa. It's just going to be a tough 5-on-5 spot for them against either of the top two lines. That's how I'm seeing it. So whatever Ottawa one I end up with, I think is great. If I end up with 5-10% of them on a 9-game slate, I'll feel pretty good going into it. We're showing them at 2 or 3% ownership right now. That seems pretty low. If they're at 2 or 3%, then yeah, I think I'd want to be probably closer to 8 to 10%. But they sneak up into the 5, 7, 8% range, I'm probably going to be closer to where the field has them. So I'll keep an eye on their ownership. But they look like a reasonable play for me. And honestly, you're just kind of running out of lines. If I'm already unsure on 2 games, take out 4 teams out of the 18 and trying to play close to 100 lineups, got to play something here. So Ottawa 1's going to be in my mix for sure. You've got a couple defensemen to really like on Ottawa. And I think this is the reason why Ottawa 1's going to be a little bit higher than what we're expecting. Brandstrom, if he's going to play top power play for 2,700 with no Shabbat, that's another reason also why I like Montreal is no Shabbat. That makes a big difference for them, both offensively and defensively. Big downgrade for Ottawa. But Brandstrom, if he's going to be 2,700 playing top power play, like he's just such an easy add-on with an already reasonably priced stack that I think that's going to bring up the ownership of Ottawa 1. I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to be at 2% in 4 hours when I'm making my lineups or finalizing my lineups, but I feel like they come up a little bit. And we're showing nice ownership on Montreal too. So I don't want to talk them up too much. The 50 people that watch this might bring them from 5.5% to 5.8% in those tournaments. And, we just can't be having that. Mete as well, 2,500, going to be in an increased role. We already know Zaitsev's going to play a bunch of minutes. He doesn't get power play time, so I don't think Zaitsev's minutes are going to jump way up, but I think the minutes are going to be way up for Brandstrom and Mete. So 2 very viable punt options there. Ducks and Blues, 2.1 implied total for the Ducks, 3.4 for St. Louis. Gibson and Binnington are your projected goalies. I said the other night, so this is another repeat of Monday, same venue as well. It's in St. Louis. O'Reilly, Shannon, Perron, I wasn't too worried about them because a bunch of their games have been against the Eriksson Ek line in Minnesota, like just the worst matchup you could possibly get. So their numbers were bad. They did have a pretty decent game last game. I think I'd like to see them generate a little bit more. But you've got fully correlated St. Louis 1 that I think is going to be a decent possession line. I don't know that they're going to be super high event. So that's definitely a downside for these prices. Like you're probably not getting too many shot bonuses out of this line that often. But against the Ducks, I think anything's possible. And they're playing against a line. They're going to play against the Zegras, Comtois, and Terry trio again, I think. They actually traded quite a few chances there. So I don't know, maybe Zegras, Comtois, and Terry are just good already. I think I talked about them being good for like next season for DFS. Probably a line I'm going to jump on if they're going to be together early in the season. But maybe they're just good right now. It's possible. Blues banged up on their defenseman. No Krug for them. And I think they're missing one more guy. I know they're missing Tarasenko, but I thought one more guy on the blue line. So no Tarasenko tonight. So it kind of takes the luster off of line 2, Bozak, Schwartz, and Sanford. So I think I'm either going to St. Louis 1 or dropping down to the third line. Robert Thomas, Mike Hoffman, and Jordan Kyrou, probably my favorite third line of the night, if not top 2 or third at most. I can't think of one off the top of my head that I like more. So they're up there. Wouldn't really treat them as a third line. They're second line. So people are going to treat them as a third line. Be my guest. But I think they're the top 6. They're going to play a decent amount of minutes. They all get power play time. Hoffman on that top unit with St. Louis 1. Justin Falk running that unit for whatever reason. Other than that, in this game, so I think the St. Louis side is pretty easy. St. Louis 1, St. Louis 3 are my favorite stacks here. St. Louis 1 getting close to 10% ownership. I got to about 14% on my last crunch. So I think it's pretty good chalk if they're going to be popular. I think I'm going to be over the field on Anaheim 1. I'm not, unloading on them or anything like that. I'm not playing 20% of them, which is a lot for me on a 9-game slate. But I think, if I can get double or triple the field, if they're going to end up below 3%, 2%, somewhere in there, if I can use them in like 7 or 8 lineups, 10 lineups, I like it. I like it. I think whenever these new lines have sustained numbers, and these guys are all pretty young. I think Troy Terry's pretty young. I know Comtois and Zegras are babies, but sometimes when it just gets put together, they're just good and can't really explain why. So obviously a lot of talent on this line. They're fully correlated on the power play. I don't think they're going to be completely forgotten about, but because of the 2.1 total, looking for reasons to play anyone tonight. And they check a few of the boxes, even though the matchup at 5-on-5 is going to be very tough. At least you get to go against the Woat, Jordan Binnington, who's just been god-awful this season and throwing as many tantrums as he's had good games. So if you want to throw them in, I don't know about defensemen on the Ducks side. Sometimes, besides Hayden Fleury, I should say that. He's a guy I've touted a bunch of times recently. I still like Hayden Fleury for 2,800, but like the power play guys, Mahura and Shattenkirk, no. I think you could probably do better there. Falk, I would just play with St. Louis 1. Parayko goes a little bit better with St. Louis 2 or St. Louis 3 if you want to add in some correlation. That's going to be a pretty low-owned 4-man St. Louis St. Louis 3, Thomas Hoffman, Kyrou, plus Parayko if you're interested in that against a pretty terrible Ducks team. All right, let's go to the Knights and the Minnesota Wild. 2.9 implied total for the Knights, 2.7 for the Wild. This was another one we just saw on Monday night. We think, well, it could be Leonard. I haven't seen any confirmation. Let me check my little Twitter list here. Adin Hill, okay, that's for the final game. The Coroner. I don't know. Maybe we do have confirmation here. If we do, okay, Marc-Andre Fleury. All right. I think I've got him in the projections. If not, I will make that swap out. Fleury projected to go. Talbot projected to go for Minnesota. This one's a little bit tough for me because there's no Pacioretty tonight. He's out. Janmark just sliding in, taking a spot. That makes that line pretty cheap. Now the problem, Drysdale is out for Anaheim. The problem for wait, is he out? Oh, Drysdale's back in. He'll return to the lineup. Okay. My bad. I thought I saw him out. Janmark's just filling in for Pacioretty, it appears. Top power play, top line with Stevenson Stone. But like Stone Pacioretty compared to Stone Janmark I don't know, feels dirty to be playing Chandler Stevenson and Janmark in the same lineup. And Stone's not like an amazing goal scorer. He can definitely score goals, but just an elite two-way forward, right? But they had good numbers in the last game, so I'm a little bit torn on what to do. They had good numbers while facing off against Eriksson at Greenway and Foligno. So maybe that's a one-game mirage. They got up early in the game and then Minnesota stormed back. It was just an absolutely wild game, really fun one to watch. I doubt we see that repeat tonight. I think there's one clear spot again that I want to go, and I think it was the one I mentioned last game. It's Kaprizov, Hartman, and Zuccarello going up against the weaker defensive line. Not that Vegas is weak really anywhere, but Carlson Marchessault and Riley Smith is a line that I don't mind going up against at the very least. And Kaprizov, Zuccarello, they've been awesome this season. I like Hartman between them. I am not a Victor Rask guy. And Victor Rask's line mate, Bonino, scored twice last game. So maybe Rask can prove me wrong and be good on this Minnesota 3. If you want to play Minnesota 3, at least you get some Kevin Fiala exposure. And it looks like all three of those guys are on the same unit. Now, I wouldn't pay too much attention to PP1, PP2 with the Wild right now. They oftentimes split power plays and they mix it up on the fly during games. Like, it's tough to get a grasp on their power play units, but they're all going to probably get power play time. So if you wanted to go to Minnesota 3, I'm okay with that. I was looking at Vegas 3, but this Peyton Krebs guy, he only got like 9 minutes last game, so that's a little bit worrisome. 2,500, you could probably throw him in with Tuck, and Nick Roy is only 2,500 as well. But feels like Tuck scores every single time against the team that exposed him in the draft, in the expansion draft. Even Victor Rask's dad isn't a Victor Rask guy. Wow. Maybe not. Maybe not for DFS at least. Victor Rask's dad probably just slams Kaprizov and Zuccarello and leaves off his own son, if I had to guess. So, yeah, I think I'm with you there, Cliffy. But I do like Minnesota Kaprizov line. I think this is going to be a lower scoring one, though. So, hoping for an outlier performance there. Lukewarm on Vegas 1. I'm okay with some Vegas 2 coming back just because Kaprizov has been not great defensively. Kaprizov and Zuccarello together, they haven't been great defensively. So if you want to go for some goals, and I think if there's going to be a big performance, it will come from either Minnesota 2 or Vegas 2. That's how I'm treating this one. Defenseman, Alec Martinez, 6,200. Pietrangelo, 6,500. Shea Theodore, 6,600. I don't know how you really choose from these guys. I'd probably rank them. Shea, probably fine as one-offs. They're going to play a lot of minutes. I'd probably go Shea, Martinez, Pietrangelo, I guess. Who knows? They could finish in any order. One of them could have 35 points, and I wouldn't really be surprised. On the wild side, Spurgeon and Dumba. Once again, Dumba's at 4,100. Whatever you think of him, but he's going to play his 20. He's going to play some power play time, and you can go him with Minnesota too, if you would like. All right, Winnipeg, Calgary, 2.6 implied total for the Jets, 2.9 for the Flames. Hellebuck and Markstrom are your goalies. Boy, did I look dumb the other night stacking against Winnipeg 1 with Ottawa 1, I think it was. Ottawa 1, I got him at like 2 or 3% on a 14 gamer. I think I had like 17 or 18%. They were like my highest owned line. I was like, all right, we get to attack Blake Wheeler, and Winnipeg 1 had like their best night defensively of the season. And, Shabbat was out, so that obviously is going to hurt the Sens there. But yeah, we couldn't have been more wrong on that one. That being said, I am going to attack Winnipeg 1 once again tonight. I think this line stinks. I think there's a lot of big names, but defensively, they are an absolute liability. And you've got this Lindholm, Gaudreau, Tkachuk trio that has played pretty well. Gaudreau finally, part of a good line for the first time this season. So I'm in on the Flames. I really, really do love them here. The ownership is I'm not in love with, but if they're going to be the highest owned line by 10% on the slate, then yeah, maybe you go somewhere else. But we've got Colorado 1 here. It's really difficult to fit in Colorado 1 and any sort of Flames 1. So it's kind of one or the other. I think they'll be up there as one of the highest owned lines, but I'm not getting away from it. I think if there's ever a spot for Calgary 1, this is the one. Tkachuk at 5,300 is a joke. I think he should be much higher than that. But yeah, one good game for Winnipeg Winnipeg 1, that is, does not change my opinion of them. Wheeler's been atrocious the whole season. Cliffy's got the stats to back that up. He's recited them in the chat a couple times recently. And so I'm just following the numbers. Calgary 1, Calgary power play. If Winnipeg does take some penalties here, they are one of the worst teams in the league at killing it off. And Mark Giordano, going to be one of my highest owned defensemen. Right now, he's third for me. If he's number 1, I would feel great about that going into tonight. I think the Flames total is a little bit low. I think they could have a big blow up here. Tanev 3,100, another guy I saw some people talking about. I think Josh was talking about him a little bit. He's probably going to play 20 plus minutes, and he's 3,100. So that checks 2 boxes right there. He's not a great DFS play. Not a great DFS player. I think he is a good DFS play tonight. Yeah, 21, 25, 21 in his last few. That checks out. All right, last couple games here, and then we'll get out. Let's see. How many likes do we have? Is this correct? We have less than 10. That's got to change. So if you're watching this on Rewind, feel free to drop us a like. Oh, I just needed to refresh my page. We got 31. All right, you guys are doing a good job. 31 likes. If you want to subscribe to the channel, I think that's only going to help you out. We've got shows for PGA, NBA, MMA, NASCAR, NFL when that's in season, MLB. We've had esports shows. We've got pretty much everything. So if you want to know when we go live or when we have pre-records that get uploaded, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell. They'll go right to your phone. You'll see when I go live. You'll see when the rest of the crew goes live. Cliffy and Josh tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. We've got a bunch of shows coming up after this. So it would be in your best interest to subscribe if you enjoy playing, if you enjoy what we do, and if you enjoy playing DFS and gambling. If you're a gambler, I think a lot of the shows, especially the NBA tip-off show, if you're into NBA gambling at all or MLB, they do a really good job mixing in some sports betting segments in there as well. Avs, Sharks, 3.8 implied total for the Avs, 2.2 for the Sharks. Grubauer, Coroner. New lines for, let me see. New lines for the Avs. Let me see if I can find these. I'm getting about 47 notifications. So I think there's going to be some projection updates. Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen. You guys are probably familiar with that one. Burakovsky, Newhook, and Kadri. Kadri playing wing. And then Nichushkin, Jost, and Donskoy. That's a pretty strong top 9 there for the Avs going into a pretty bad Sharks team. Couture, Balceres, Timo Meier got absolutely run over by the McKinnon line. But it was a close game. I would assume they do that again. I think it ended up 5-4. They're going to get run over again. Colorado won, the best play on the slate. Get as much as possible and try not to get duped. That's the game with them tonight. I don't see really any resistance coming from the Sharks. It's just a matter of whether or not they score. They have a 41% chance of being a top 2 stack. So as long as they're under 40%, they're a positive leverage play. I think they're going to be under 40% as a full stack because they're expensive, but they're expensive for a good reason. So just fire them up, whatever you can get. Burakovsky, Newhook, and Kadri. I mean, I'm going to have to look into this Newhook fellow. I'm assuming he's somewhat of a prospect if he's coming up this late in the season. And they're letting him center Burakovsky and Kadri. So if he's any sort of decent distributor, that is a pretty good spot to start against the Sharks. Now, I will say, I do like Hurdle, Barabanov, and Evander Kane. They're not going to get the McKinnon line, or at least not a lot of them. So getting to go up against the non-McKinnon lines for Colorado usually is a pretty good thing. They have great numbers to start off. They're fully correlated on the top power play. So I'm not forgetting about the Sharks in this one here. Assuming we get the matchups correct, I feel pretty good about playing some Sharks 1. Feel great about Colorado 1, obviously. And then Colorado 2 and 3 are great fillers as well. Josh mentioned on the show yesterday, he's mentioned on a few shows recently, if you want to get exposure to some of these high implied totals without playing the absolute chalk of the chalk, drop down to the second line. And I think you could drop down to the third one here. Donskoy with, what did I say? Jost and Val Nichushkin. So that line has great numbers, I think, as well at 5-on-5. Let me do a quick look on that one. So they did with Saad. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. That's like one of the best. 147 minutes with Nichushkin, Jost, Donskoy. Like, that's like one of the best lines in the league. That's like the same numbers as McDavid, Puljujarvi, and Draisaitl. Jeez. New York Rangers just fired their president and GM. Okay. Weird. Newhook is the real deal. 2019 first-round pick. Good enough for me. I'll play the guy. I have no shame. Ryan Graves, 4K. Perfectly fine to add on. I'll play him with some Colorado 1 stacks where I can't get up to Cale Makar, but Cale Makar is the prize to be won tonight. He's just 7K. That's the problem. So I don't love him as a one-off just because I think he's so closely tied. Like, his ceiling performances are so closely tied to Colorado 1's ceiling performances, where I don't really want Makar without him or without them. And that's really, really difficult to do at 7K. So if you can make it work, make it work. But it's going to be tough tonight on a big slate with a lot of options. And he doesn't project as like the raw point best defenseman tonight, which makes him tough for 7K. Carlson, Burns, do what you want with those guys. Mario Party, 2,900, going to play 20 plus. There's another guy you can throw into your mix as a cheap punt defenseman. Kings, Yotes, last game of the night, 2.5 implied total for the Kings, 2.9 for the Yotes. Donskoy is with Kadri. No, I just saw new lines. I think it's not updated on the lineup sites just yet. We'll get it updated on the top stacks once everything gets updated. But I believe Donskoy was with the was with Jost and Nichushkin. They're practicing right now, or they're just wrapping up practice. So we'll see if we get confirmation on those lines. But that's what they were running in practice. Cal Peterson, Darcy Kemper, those are your expected goalies. Kempe jumped up with Brown and Kopitar in the last game. The Kings' depth they're just getting destroyed every game, no matter who it is. The Ducks took them to the woodshed, and then the Yotes did last game as well. So they went Dvorak, Krause, and Fisher against Kopitar, Kempe, Brown. I think that's what you should do. Kings 1 is not off the table for me tonight, but I was getting to a lot of them. I don't know that I want double digits of them. I'm okay with 6-7% of Kings 1, but I want to play both Arizona 1 and Arizona 2. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Schmaltz if he's even available tonight. He got hurt with warm-ups in the last game and was a late scratch, but and Brassard took his spot, I think, between Bunting and Keller. So Schmaltz is in, fantastic. I love Arizona 2, but I also love Arizona 1. Connor Garland, one of the best plays on the entire night. I think 4,900 cash lock, played 22 minutes in his first game back. This line was awesome at 5-on-5 going up against Kings 2 and Kings 3. This line was insanely good, 21-2 shot attempts against mostly the Velarde line, and I think they played it some against Kings 2, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I love the Yotes. It's just they're prety popular, and I'm going to try to get non-duplicated lineups with them. So I don't think it's that sneaky to play them with a Colorado 1. But elsewhere, if you're going to anyone but Colorado 1 with any of these top Arizona lines, I think you're in pretty good shape as far as getting some unique lineups. So I think that's about it. No defenseman that I love outside of the obvious Chikrin, but his price just continues to moon like Dogecoin. $7,300 for Chikrin. It's I think you can play him as a one-off. It's hard to play him over a guy like Yossi, but if the ownership difference is there, by all means, have at it. And you get Gio is $1,200 cheaper than Chikrin, so he's tough to play. But tough to play just means that he's not going to be that popular tonight. All right, if you guys got any questions, feel free to hit me up in Slack. We've got NBA shows and the game plan, and hours of NBA and MLB coming up to close it out before lock. Thank you all for watching. Cliffy and Josh will break down tomorrow's slate.